Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome to Ancient Empires. So this is a mod for Total War Attila, which basically resets it. It's like a new version of Rome Total War 2, and it is pretty epic. So we are going to be diving straight in with the campaign as the Romans. There are quite a few different factions you can choose from at the start. You can play as Carthage and some of the Persian factions around the Gulf, things like that. But, you know, got to go with Rome, haven't we? And deciding that, we have basically, as soon as you load into the game, you get thrown straight into the Battle of Zama, which is what we're loading into now. So, let's get stuck into the battle and see how we get on and get a bit of a look at this mod and how it plays on the battlefield. Yes, it's basically a complete overhaul of the game, this mod. It uses some of the model resources from Rome 2, but it's got completely different building trees, completely different unit trees, a sort of a relatively redeveloped battle structure, as we'll hopefully see in this coming battle. So yeah, it's quite different from Rome 2, and it's been receiving absolute rave reviews, so you know, I couldn't wait to get in and give it a try. So I think we'll go with this. It's nice, dry, desert environment. North Africa, obviously. I wouldn't expect it to be raining. And so, this is our army arrayed against the Carthaginians up ahead. So obviously, this is Hannibal over here. I believe he does have some war elephants, whereas we've got the Roman army laid out in front of us. So we've got our skirmishers, our Weletes, how do you pronounce it? My pronunciation is going to be horrible throughout this. Our light skirmishers. Follow behind, we've got looks like the lines of the Hastati. What are these guys? Okay. I don't know sufficient about them to be able to comment. Okay, well, they're making up the front ranks. These are obviously the basic infantry. We've got some cavalry up there. Behind these, we've got the Principes. These are the much more sort of heavily armoured, experienced, wealthy, prime soldiers who have seen combat before. And the next ranks, so these are going to sort of back up the first line if we get into trouble, I think. And then we've got sort of the experienced veteran spearmen, the Triarii, sort of up at the back. I assume these are Triarii, perhaps they're not. Headites extraordinaire. Pretty cool troops. And we've got some light Numidians. Yes, and then we've got these Romans on the other flank. Good true Roman cavalry over there. So I think what we're going to do is basically get in and get started. I don't think there's a lot else. I'm pretty happy with the deployment with our skirmishers up front. So let's see how we get on. So we are technically the attacking force. We'll just wait to see if the Carthaginians do anything. Obviously we can't see anything, so maybe we should immediately, first thing is send out some Numidian cavalry to sort of have a bit of a look around. Maybe start to do a bit of scouting. See what we can see before we get the army moving up. Then let's start to split these guys off into various formations, so it gives us a little bit more control. We'll have them. It's the second formation. So let's think about moving these guys forward slowly as our skirmishing line. We'll keep them backed up a little bit by a slight moving up in the infantry line as well. We can advance them. These guys slowly. Oh, this is just awesome. I love mods like this. Feels so cool. Okay, so let's get these Numidians moving up to this forest over here, providing a bit of scouting for us. Excuse me. Right, so we've got our Principes, our veterans, making up the second sort of ranks of the line. Let's move these guys up and move these guys up as well. So obviously we've got more Numidians here and sort of more experienced, heavier Roman cavalry sort of on the flanks. So we're starting to spot some of the enemy light cavalry. Oh, they're the enemy elephants. These guys are going to cause us some problems, I think. Definitely. Okay, interesting start. I think it doesn't look like they're going to want to push into me. Obviously we are the aggressor here, so let's keep pushing up with our infantry. Move these guys up as well. Keep moving our cavalry up as well. And we'll get our Numidians moving up on this other flank as well. Are these Numidians like light skirmisher cavalry? Okay, cool. Move our sort of more heavy Roman cavalry up on the flank as well. And then let's start to get these Numidians advancing a little bit. Does it look like these Carthaginians are beginning to move up? Okay, so we've got some enemy slingers moving up. So you guys don't want to be going forwards too far. So we've got some enemy cavalry on the flank. They've got some skirmishers as well by the looks of it. Obviously we could move our skirmish line up and start to get involved. These slingers are going to have pretty good range, I think, which of course they do. Particularly compared to, say, our skirmishers, which are going to have a fairly short range, obviously just having handheld javelins. So once we close the skirmishing range, I guess we're going to want to do so pretty quickly. Okay, let's move these guys around. Let me try and get a bit of height advantage on the hill, see if we can get some spots on them. And let's keep moving up a little bit more. We're just moving steady, we've got plenty of time. No need to rush this. So yeah, one thing how this mod works is basically key battles like this actually really dictate how your campaign plays out. And sort of a lot more meaningful than some of the sort of, you know, say Rome 2 and Attila and stuff. Yeah, it's kind of pretty significant how these things play out, and they sort of dictate the future of your campaign. So that's pretty cool. It's something we've got to look forward to. So hopefully, I kind of want to win this because I want a positive campaign going forwards. So in combat, obviously, people now also tire a lot quicker. Tired units suffer a lot more compared to what they do in the base Attila game. So that kind of means you need to be thinking about rotating men. So that kind of makes sort of the Roman manipul system a lot more effective. You know, once these sort of forward hostati are getting pretty tired, you want to be rotating in some of the more experienced units and allowing the hostati to pull back to recover a bit more. Things like that. Keep things nicely rotating. So what's the maximum range of those guys? Is there. So we've still got quite a way to go before it. Anywhere near that. So let's move up to the edge. I know I'm controlling them all individually. I could do it differently, but it just kind of gives me more options. I like having the extra control. We're running our cavalry quite wide compared to how they're originally deployed, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Let's keep our Numidians up on the cliff. Are these Numidians going to push up to start a skirmish with us, which is what they might be tempted to do? Obviously they have the javelins as well, but we have more javelins than them. Ooh, looks like they're having a massive formation change. So these are the Libyan heavy spearmen. Spear bearers. God, they've got a lot of men in the unit, haven't they? Okay, and then behind that they've got sort of Hannibal's veteran infantry. Yeah, look at these, all the African veterans. The much more battle-hardened, experienced, very heavy spear infantry, which is going to be kind of a pain to break, and obviously going to be able to reinforce the front lines as we get involved. So, how are we going to do this? I think we just got to pretty much go for it and get into this battle. Yeah, let's just go for it. We'll pause, I think, and get everyone moving together. So we're just going to push straight up with our skirmisher lines, I think. Oops, I didn't quite get that quite right. So let's get them moving. And then, are they going to move? Yeah, okay, cool. Second ranks are just going to move up. Starty obviously going to have a bit more range. We'll stop the skirmishers before they get that close. It's just giving me options about where I want them to move to. And then we'll move these guys up a lot further back. Okay, so let's get the bulk of the army moving. These skirmishers are obviously going to do the bulk of the fighting initially, and then we'll see if the enemy wants to actually engage with their infantry. They've got their Numidian cavalry on this flank here. I don't know if they've got any of the cavalry in support. We can drive them off pretty easily with our much heavier Roman cavalry if we need to, I think. We'll see what they do. Let's get these guys moving up as well. What have they got? They've got 2 units of cavalry. Some just, yeah, Numidian, some citizen cavalry, almost like Greek-style cavalry there, a bit heavier. Okay, and we have some elephants coming. So, let's think about our first rank. It may be worth getting them to stop. And then these ranks will form up here because these javelin men are going to start to hit these guys hard. We'll pull the Principes back, and you guys stop there. Yes, look at this. This is what we wanted to do. He's running his elephants across the front of our lines, which is giving us the full weight of volley from our light javelin men against these elephants. Pretty effective. They're already starting to waver, and they've broken already. That is absolutely perfect. Okay, good. Okay, well, let's start to push the advantage. Push the javelin men, skirmishers forwards. Let's get in and stuck in on some of these enemy slingers. And get some of these light skirmishers. See, we're breaking formation a bit. We should start to get some weight of volley on these skirmishers, these Balearic slingers now as they're pulling back. So our skirmishing formation's keeping on. We've got our formation is just going to hold there for the moment while we're fine with this sort of skirmish array at the moment. They're not sending cavalry against us, which doesn't seem to be a problem. Okay, you guys retreat, pull back. Because they're actually infantry. Okay, let's push the infantry forwards. Let's get this battle under the way. Most of our javelin men are starting to use up a lot of their things already. No need to run, people. We march in order. Romans, damn it. Okay, and you two missile infantry start to pull back. Let's just have a quick pause to check the situations. The cavalry aren't charging us at the moment. We've still got our cavalry up here, nice and safe. So yeah, let's carry on. Astarte are marching to combat. I'm going to break ranks and go a bit more aggressively. Okay, so we're getting engaged off first on this flank. Right, you guys, if you've got any ammunition left, start to get it stuck into this spear infantry. Our guys have got a bit engaged here by the enemy cavalry, so let's get them chasing off. And bring up our cavalry in support. So we've got a bit of engagement going on here. You guys are going to have to pull back. And we're going to have to bring up a unit of Principes to plug the gap. Quickly now, guys, quickly. Good order. You're going to get caught. And get stuck into those spear infantry. These guys have kind of got caught in an engagement on their own more than they really should have. I don't really necessarily want to push this unit forwards. Get you guys going into the back of this Italian Greek cavalry, sorry. And think about engaging those light skirmishers if they're going to come this close. Have those Principes got stuck into the fight they have against these heavy Italian spears? Should be able to win that battle without too much problem, I don't think. And just in case, let's bring our cavalry around so we can rear flank these spears and maybe start trying to get them to rout. So we've got those enemy guys there routed. So let's reform up the infantry. And get our cavalry to sort of reform up again over here. And reform the lines down here. I know we're being shot at still here. They're just going to hold while these guys are engaged. No need to break the line. And let's flank these spears who have overextended themselves beyond the line and engage these Principes. We're winning that fight without too much trouble. I think we're going to be okay there with these lights. So let's start to get these guys into the javelins a bit more. Move that unit up there. Right, what have we got left? We want to get these two Principes up so they are in a position to support much better than they currently are. And we'll move our veteran spearmen up as well. Okay, good. Two javelins are sort of in a pretty rough way. Okay, so those guys there for our elite Roman cavalry, who did a pretty good job there just killing off those remaining enemies. So we're advancing okay. These two guys, let's go for these light Numidian skirmisher cavalry. Let's just start to get these guys stuck in, really, to be honest. There's two units of Principes to keep you moving up. Sort of descending into sort of a series of smaller battles. Come on, let's try and keep some semblance of formations going. We'll move the Principes a bit further out onto a flank in a thin line. And let's start to push our heavier cavalry around more of a flank to give us some more options. So these guys are probably getting pretty tired in here, so let's bring in... they're tired, they're not too bad though. Let's send in some reinforcing heavier Principes. Try and break the backs of that line. So probably the next problem is going to be down here. You know, these guys are fairly surrounded. If we look, our units here are kind of on a pretty thin line against some significant heavy infantry. We've got these Italian heavy spears, look, starting to push in here. We've got to plug this gap before this part of the line gets completely outflanked. Around here things are going pretty well. Get those guys to engage there, and probably can get these guys to flank on those African veterans as well, since they're going to be quite a tough opposition for us to fight. We still have our two units of veterans who we're going to keep out of the fight for now. Did our guys actually drive these Numidians off? No, they didn't. Just keep trying that one if we can. So we sort of managed to pin the Carthaginians sort of on quite a nice position really. It seemed to have broken down into a series of separate fights. Get these guys to engage. Maybe completely rear flank these Carthaginian veterans. Looks like their heavy spear infantry are in retreat there. which is exactly what we want. We've got the rest of our Principes all engaged. No one's too tired yet, so we're going to keep everyone in the line for now. We'll keep our veterans out of the fight. But we will flank these Principes round and rear flank these veterans here, because these are kind of one of the main things. If we can start to break their elite units, then I think we really stand a good chance we're going to be able to win this. Particularly now some of their units are starting to retreat, particularly some of their not too bad quality units either. So let's get you guys to engage. Rear flank them, in with the peeler, into the back of them, and then in with the infantry. This heavy Roman infantry charging into the back. Oof. That's great. And now they're getting stuck into the fight. These guys are now flanked front and back. So they're going to have a bit of a hard time of this. Even against sort of the lighter Hastati at the front, with the much more heavily armoured, much more veteran Principes pushing in from the back now, going to start to do a lot of damage. And I just thought they'd start to affect their morale reasonably badly. So, this unit of Hastati is struggling. So, let's get both veteran units to push in. And then we can hopefully cycle out these... they're broken. It's not so good. But we're at least sending in support so they're not going to get completely run down as they retreat. Okay, so we've bridged that part of the gap. What have we got in terms of our cavalry still in the fight? We've got a good amount of cavalry left. Our guys have, looks like, engaged these Numidians. So let's start to bring these guys in. And let's start to run down some of these retreating enemies. Say like these Libyan spear bearers, some of the heavy infantry there. Maybe start to get these guys to rout a little bit. So the bulk of the fight seems to be happening here. We've now got our elite sort of heavy spear infantry engaged over here. So look what's going on down in the actual battle. A bit of cinematics. These brutal hand-to-hand fighting. Jesus, this is awesome. Okay, some of the lighter sort of Carthaginian, I think they're like the peltists and light javelin men, now sort of firmly in retreat. I think the battle is now starting to tip significantly in our favour as well, which is great. And we can use our cavalry to start to cause trouble behind their lines. Start to bring our cavalry back as well. So on the back of the slopes we can start to run them down as they retreat. Looks like the bulk of the army is now starting to get into retreat. Start to bring some of you guys into flank. These veterans, it shows to show how sort of elite these veterans are. They've been surrounded now for the bulk of the game. And they're still holding, they're not even taking that many casualties. We'll send in more fresh Astartes to push into another one of their flanks to try and put more pressure on them. If we can get them to break, that will be really the battle over for us. Let's cut down as many people as we can. Those slingers will be fine. So we've got quite a lot of pressure now on these guys, these heavy spearmen. They're not going to be standing in the fight much longer, I don't think. This is basically ours. And even their elites are starting to waver now. There's a cavalry just have free reign to massacre these guys as they run. Jesus, these poor people. Imagine being in that, just these cavalry charging over you. Oh, slaughter. And that is basically it. Look, they are routing almost entirely. You guys just reform the lines. So in case we didn't take too much in the way of casualties, hopefully. Some of the Hastati have a bit of a hard time of it in places. Just got to get these guys to rout now. They're still resisting. And there they go, they are broken. And we have secured victory at the Battle of Zama, just like Scipio Africanus did in the real thing. Excellent. Decisive victory. That is exactly what we wanted. So let's zoom out and have a look at the campaign map. See where this leads us and see what we're looking at. We took a lot of losses there. It was a pretty equal battle in terms of deployment. I think the computer made some mistakes there, pulling back a bit too far, consolidated itself, which allowed me to sort of get involved in sort of a series of mini fights, which I think worked quite well for us. And we had a lot more cavalry then, which worked well for us as well. So we've then got a bit of choice about how we want to deal with them. We can obviously kill them, gain us a bit of financial boost. We can replenish some of our units, although our units aren't particularly in a terrible way. The only unit that got hit hard are these javelin men who got taken out by their enemy cavalry. Or we can kill them all. I think we will... Or we could just kill them all. Yes, that seems easiest, doesn't it? Let's just slaughter them. We've still got to capture the rest of North Africa yet, so you know we want to be fighting this one hard. So we are now starting our Ancient Empires campaign, having been thrown just to the first battle. Just gives a bit of a background to the Battle of Zama and sort of the Roman situation as it is currently. I'll let you read that in your own time. So let's have a look where we are and how things are arranged out. So obviously we control all of Rome. Obviously here's Rome itself and the northern boundaries. This is obviously some of the Gallic provinces up into Gaul. We own some of the territory along sort of the Spanish exterior. We don't really own the whole of Iberia yet. Still got some of the Spanish tribes that are still roaming around. So what else have we got? Let's make it to facing north. That will make it a lot more logical from a geographic point of sense. So yeah, so buildings are quite expensive and add significant changes. You start to have to think about things like if you start to upgrade buildings significantly, build large colosseums, they cost quite a lot in terms of their upkeep. And that affects things as well, so you have to think that for the future. So you're not always just building the top buildings you can in absolutely every province, because it will just bankrupt you. Yeah, so basically each settlement around here seems to have walls by the looks of it. And the happiness, you know, have various possible upgrades you can do, which change the various building characteristics and everything like that. Obviously in North Africa we're currently at war with the Carthaginians. Having just won the Battle of Zama, obviously we'll probably send Scipio and his legions up against Carthage itself. Just let's take the main enemy city and raze it to the ground as they did. Over in Rome, obviously let's have a look at the building territories. We've got a lot more options in terms of what we've got available. It still works on the same sort of population surplus method as it does in the previous game, so that's not itself hasn't actually changed, but it's kind of just pretty cool. So obviously Rome itself has a reasonable garrison. You can see the garrison details. You know, it's got four principes and a number of hastati. It's pretty decent. It seems like all the towns have a sort of a series of garrisons, but the minor towns have pretty minor garrisons. You know, like Arminium just has some of the sort of the basic heavy melee infantry. You know, aren't going to be great in a fight. They're not like hastati, not even basic sort of professional army troops. So maybe we should invest a bit of our money starting to upgrade some of the infrastructure. Seems what we'll do with some of these things do quite an increase to taxation, quite an increase to food consumption. Well, maybe we should be starting to upgrade some of the farms in. So as you can see, so like the basic farms at tier 2 have a 300 maintenance cost, whereas you go up to sort of tenant farming, that's a 340 maintenance cost. Obviously it gives increased additional income from the farming, and it gives you a higher base amount of base food from the agriculture. So it's kind of worthwhile, I think. So let's get that upgrading. In Naples, what have we got down here? Well, there's quite a lot of options. I haven't fully explored myself. I've only sort of been playing a couple of hours since it came out because I kind of really wanted to create a video for this. I haven't fully explored all the building queues because they are pretty bloody extensive. Look, I mean, the effects each building does is just massive. So you can see it changes the way the garrisons, unlocks various recruitments. Look at the vast numbers of possible cavalry that are available to be recruited. It's just insane. I also kind of want to have a look what kind of armies we've got. We've got 2 legions. So obviously got Scipio as the senator down here, leading his army against the Carthaginians. And it looks like we've got an army garrisoned in Spain. Just a small army. 3 principes and 3 hastati in New Carthage, which is now in Roman hands. So there's an enemy army there. Let's have a little bit of a look from, if we can, from a diplomatic point of view in the strategic map. We can see, that's kind of nice. We can see what we own and what we don't own. Can we see diplomatic status? So obviously we are at war with the Republic of Carthage. We've got some other enemy armies down here by the looks of it, which is obviously probably the Carthaginian army that was in retreat. We've got these obviously a client state which have been set up by us. So we're actively at war with those guys. It looks like we may well be with some of the Gallic tribes up to the north. Looks like we might actually be at war with. We're going to have to think about how we're actually going to deal with them. I mean, Arminium itself looks like it's a properly defended province. It should have a reasonable garrison, I would have thought. Well, not really, by the looks of it. So maybe that's what we should be thinking about, how we're going to get this a bit upgraded. to give it a better garrison. So let's have a look what we've got. We've only got one possible upgrade by the looks of it. I don't think it improves the garrison particularly. This region increases taxation significantly. Yeah, let's go for that. Armenium's a pretty significant settlement. And then from there, that gives us a base to push out to start to threaten some of the Gallic tribes in the future once we've defeated the Carthaginians. Obviously, Sicily is entirely ours. And then obviously we're in Syracuse down here, which is pretty cool. Wow, there's so many different buildings. This is so complicated. So I think probably the best bet is going to be to end the turn, and then we can look to start to threaten Carthage. I'm not currently researching any technologies, okay. Okay, there's a fairly extensive technology tree already. So these are the various things I think we've got already researched. And then we've got all the social civic trees as well. So, a lot of group Hastati, Principes, and Velites, which replace the levies. I think that would be a sensible starting technology. Get some of our base technology moving up. And we can assign a provincial governor somewhere. Let's assign him if we can. Oh, okay, where can I assign a provincial governor? Oh, these are all possible areas that can be assigned, I believe. Governors assigned. Who can I assign to a governor? Can I drag and drop one of these people to be a governor? Well, we don't want to put necessarily Caesar as a governor. And obviously having put a governor in Rome itself, that gives us the option to issue an edict. What are we going to do? What will be the most useful? Public order is obviously pretty good currently, so we don't need to do anything like that. We don't want conscription. Income from slaves. Could be. No, definitely don't want to be lowering taxes. Increase taxes. Export food, which goes down. Import food. Open borders. Enforce law and order. What is the public order currently in Rome? 100 minus 4 per turn. Okay, so we don't necessarily particularly want to be doing that. I think we'll just leave it with that. None of those seem particularly favourable to me because I'm not trying to achieve anything particular. I'm just trying to keep a balanced sort of a balanced situation. So let's push into the next turn. Ptolemaic dynasties. All the different various kingdoms. Obviously, this is like the full map that we've got available to us. So it's pretty cool. It's Pergamon, all the Persian empires we're going to have to face off against in our future campaigns. Some of the Carthaginian client states down there, sort of in the western part of North Africa, which we're going to have to deal with as well. Maybe it's a good thing we've got this army in Spain. Might be able to use that to defend ourselves a little bit. Wow, there's a lot of various people in this. I'm a little bit worried about some of those possible Gallic tribes to the north, which are going to be starting to threaten us, which could be an issue, but we shall see. So it looks like this is the remains of the enemy army that has retreated itself to Carthage. So we'll continue to push on and try and threaten them. Obviously, our army is still damaged from the last campaign, and it's going to take another turn before we can actually defeat them, but we'll get there eventually. So a lot of wars declared, various things like that. Nothing particularly exciting. So let's continue to get things upgraded. We're getting quite a bit of military income per turn, so that's pretty good. We'll continue to start getting some things upgraded. So let's get our capital thing upgraded. Does that give us a much increase to garrison? Yeah, it does. It provides us with well, it changes some of the units to cavalry, so that's pretty cool. What else? Naples, I didn't actually upgrade anything. So from a forum we can go, which gives public order a little bit of local trade. We can go to much significantly more trade, but we lose the public order. Civil forum, which gives more order but not a lot more in trade. So a great forum, which seems to give some trade and a little bit of public order. I think we'll have the food market, to be honest. Then we've got sort of the civil governance of the city itself. Changes either the garrison and what is allowed to be unlocked. Look at the amount of different various equites it allows to be unlocked. That's just madness. So it's like colonial prefectum, civitas deus. I'm going to go with that. Since I have no other idea what I should be building. So in the rest of the parts of Spain, lots of these provinces, Mallorca, seem pretty underdeveloped by the looks of it. Do they all actually have garrisons? But they do actually all have small garrisons, yeah. It's pretty cool. I guess when these places are built, they're built, some of these are built as proper, you know, places with decent garrisons. So I want to be maintaining that garrisons, if nothing else. Obviously, Carthage is the main one. I don't want to turn it into an entirely sort of a civil town because it really needs its military garrison. So you seem to be losing some of that military garrison if we start to upgrade things like that. Oh, save up silver mining complex. Okay, I'll be more inclined to build that later on. So we'll wait then and just straight to the next turn, I think. Let's have a look. What units can I recruit within the army? Out of curiosity. Oh, we've got the full stances back, which obviously were kind of limited in Thrones of Britannia that I'm playing recently, so that's kind of nice. It's not that button. I'm pressing the wrong thing. Where's the army recruitment tab gone? I can't even remember where it is. I assume they just raise from the actual forces themselves. One would assume. Force details. Oh, this tells us about the various things that they can do. Oh, and the integrity of the force and the force's like various details, attrition of various climates, replenish rate, things like that. Oh, that's pretty cool. But I still don't know how to recruit more people. Oh, here they are. It's because they're a slightly different colour. Oh, so the only thing they can recruit there is just some travel levers. Nothing that we absolutely want at all. I guess that's because Carthage doesn't have the ability to really recruit anything. Yeah, so it doesn't allow the recruitment of anything. It has to be recruited from Rome itself. That's kind of cool, rather than just out in the provinces. But anyway, I'm meandering, so let's head on to the next turn. Next turn we should be able to actually properly lay siege to Carthage, which is definitely what we should be doing. Looks like the Carthaginian army is setting sail. Yeah, I'm happy to accept a non-aggression pact with these people. I'm not particularly looking to get into a war with them at this moment in time. Let's try and beat the Carthaginians first before we start doing anything like that. Yeah, Anatolian League. Okay, your ally is under attack. Okay, well they don't really like us anyway. And our Spanish ally. We have an army in Spain, so yeah, let's enter the side of the ally and get the army ready to move out. So they offer a trade agreement and to pay us some money to the Balearic Islands. Yeah, fine by me. That works. Amazing me quite how many various factions there are out. Such a vast number. As we'll slowly dwindle that down as we start to beat them all. I think a lot of them, I think, are just like small tribal factions, like all the Spanish tribes and all the French tribes, the Gallic tribes, things like that. Okay, so it's a bit of an update, sort of a historical event message. Tells us the consuls for the year, sort of the various important deaths. Carthage signs a peace treaty, which we're probably not going to be accepting. As Carthage from Malta. Race brings back Greeks. Okay, cool. We're producing more food. People are starving. Okay, that's not so good. Okay, so we need to think about start producing more food then. By the sounds of things, I guess we've been building all these buildings, which increasing food consumption, and I've not really been building anything to actually deal with that. So that's probably my fault. So we could build a granary or upgrade a granary, which is probably no bad thing. So let's do that. It's only 800. And then let's start to look where we've got more opportunities to upgrade food production. In Sicily, Oh, we've already had this one already. We've got a pretty strong villa estates already, which should be producing a good amount of food. Not a lot we can do from that one. We actually own a province over in Egypt. In Greece even. So we'll just leave that there. It's not producing us any food. Are any of our Spanish properties producing us any sort of significant food income? Gold? That's not quite what I had in mind, but maintenance cost goes up, but we start to produce more. Well, I mean, producing gold is probably not a bad thing. Sort of. Let's have a look over in New Carthage. Is that producing us any? No, doing only have silver. Okay, so we're not really doing a lot. Oh, we have undeveloped land that we can build, though. Jesus, there's a lot of building options. So we want public land, I think. We don't want industrial. Yeah, we want public land. Okay, so let's start to increase our food production. So we'll pick a settlement that's not got quite so much space, and let's start again. We'll do some more public land if we can. It costs a bit of money, but 10 food from agriculture. Yeah, basically increase the food export capacity of the region. Try and start to get so our people aren't starving would always be a step in the right direction. So, okay, apart from the food crisis, let's try and beat these Carthaginians. So, they've actually got quite a lot deployed in the militia. Are we just going to lay siege, or are we going to try and... Couple of seasons, they can hold out for 6 turns total. 2 turns till they start to take damage. So we can start to build some ladders and siege towers. Just get a variety of things built this turn, and then continue the siege. They obviously have got other armies around to protect us of the colonies and only a small army. It's quite a large army here which has been deployed. Do we have anything naval? No, we don't. Obviously, this, I believe, was the army that I just beat at the Battle of Zama, which was quite badly damaged. So I don't think that's going to do them a lot in the way of favours. And obviously, we are now at war with these guys, because they have declared war on some of our minor cities. So, that will actually allow recruitment of some of more units. That's probably worthwhile upgrading in Cordoba. Spalis, all these places have got a small garrison, so they're actually able to defend themselves reasonably well, I think. And we've got the enemy army. So let's move up to here. Have we got enough movement points to set something like an ambush in this forest? So the idea being that if these guys push down this road here, we might be able to dive out of them from this forest and actually get an ambush opportunity on them and defeat their army. Because this is the ally we are defending, I believe. I think they're going to have a bit of a hard time winning this. It looks like they're kind of outnumbered by these enemies around here. So I don't necessarily foresee this going particularly well. Does this guy have much of a garrison at all? No. A couple of 3 units of Roman Marines. God, that's not going to go particularly well, is it? Taraco. You can upgrade that. That allows us recruitment of more units. It doesn't really provide us anything in the way of an extra garrison, though, does it? But we'll spend the money nonetheless. And let's push into the next turn. So the Carthaginians are pushing down to some of their cities there. Maybe they've actually given up on Carthage itself and just accepted that it's going to be defeated. Or captured at least. I don't think I'm going to burn it to the ground though. I'd rather capture it as a city intact. It's probably going to be a reasonably valuable trading port. So it'd be pretty good for us if we can actually just take it. And then we can start working on focusing our efforts on clearing out the rest of North Africa. Balearics, obviously we just had a trade agreement with them. They're going to pay us a bit more money to sign a non-aggression pact, which is fine. I'm not going to invade them at the moment. Something that will be dealt with in time, but not for now. So it looks like an enemy army is pushing in from the Gallic provinces to the north and starting to threaten us. It's probably about time we start to raise a contingent in Rome to actually defend sort of the Eternal City itself. Although I suspect, it's got a reasonable garrison, so I'm not worried about it actually being sacked. But, you know. So these guys are taking attrition damage, I guess, because they're stuck in a stance. So, let's move out. So whether we just defend, hold out, or try and actually make some moves against the enemies. No, let's just pull back to New Carthage then and hold out. We'll play the defensive war. Play it safe. I think for now we're just going to keep this siege up against the Carthaginians. It's going to be a pretty close battle, and in one more turn they're going to start to take damage anyway. So, you know, I think we might as well just continue the siege, build up a bit more siege equipment. They've got nothing really in the area which is going to be able to relieve them as an army at the moment, so nothing that I'm too worried about. We are going to have to think about raising a force in Rome itself, though, I think. So, who have we got? Sextus Julius Caesar, Titus Quintus Flammius. We want someone who's fairly young, I think. If we're going to be good at making good generals that are going to be around here for a while. This guy's got pretty decent loyalty by the looks of it. Influence, he's not the most amazing commander ever though. He's got 10 loyalty and 5, so yeah, let's go with him. So you can either be cavalry or basically a unit of heavy spear infantry. For me, I think I'd rather have the heavy spear infantry. That's what Romans are ultimately all about. Let's garrison him in there and start to raise some units. So we have actually quite a lot of choice in terms of recruitment. We can get a bit more details about some of these units. So I didn't actually mean to click that. I was just trying to see. So we've got some of the pedite. So pedite just means like basic recruit, I believe. So I'm not sure are these really good units or not. And there's obviously Samnites from the early Samnite royals. These are the Triarii, which are like the Roman heavy elites. Really good at morale, pretty decent armor. I mean, actually quite as offensive as the Pedites Extraordinaire, the Samnite Hill Warriors. Hastati obviously are going to make up the bulk of the army. They have slightly worse armor and slightly worse sort of melee attack, you know, offensive characteristics than the Principes, which is what we'd expect, you know, as a continuing unit. And then, so these are just Latin infantry basically. Pretty similar, apart from very slight melee defense differences. And then we're just getting sort of progressively worse, I think, as we go down. God, there's so much choice. We've got the levies. Okay, very cool. Okay, so let's think about this. We want an army largely initially it is composed of Hastati, which is kind of the main unit in any army. So we've got a choice between Equites, or sort of basically Latin cavalry. I think that is what that's saying. So sort of social. Well, we're going to have good cavalry, aren't we? In any of our armies, we're not going to cheap out. Okay, that'll probably do for our first turn. Unless we want a couple of units of Principes or just some cheaper to maintain Roman. The actual upkeep on these guys is actually horrendous. So let's not recruit too many people. That'll do for one. And I think we'll probably stop there and think about threatening these guys. I don't know if it's actually an enemy army or not. I don't think it actually is it? No, I don't think it actually is an enemy army, because we're at war with some of these guys a bit further up, I think. But anyway, I think we'll end this first episode here. We've been running for about 45 minutes now, and it's going to take me ages to upload this episode. It's going to be too long. So hopefully you've enjoyed this introduction into Ancient Empires. It is actually a really cool mod. I'm going to continue playing a bit more, learn a bit more about the various building trees and stuff like that, because it's pretty complex when you get into it. And then we're going to be continuing this campaign. Hopefully our next aims are going to be to sort of conquer Carthage and to start to wipe out everything sort of along the North African peninsula. So we sort of get this whole segment sort of secured and under Roman control. So thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give the video a like. It really helps the channel out. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for lots more Total War content. Thanks, guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.